The X-59 Quest, short for Quiet Supersonic Technology, an airplane that could lead to a new generation of faster-than-sound airliners. The sun set on the previous generation over 20 years ago with the final flight of the Concorde, which has since been relegated to museums.
In a moment that feels like science fiction, Japan has just crossed a line no nation has before. A manned hypersonic jet, Mach 15, Tokyo to California in just 2 hours. It's called Hayabusa-X, and it didn't just fly, it rewrote the future. Built with AI navigation, plasma shielding, and edge-of-space propulsion, this machine changes how wars are fought, how we travel, and how fast power moves across the globe. The US didn't see it coming. China couldn't track it. And now, though, the entire world is playing catch-up. This isn't just fast. It's a new kind of unstoppable. The flight that shocked the world. In a moment that stunned military watchers and aviation experts alike, Japan's experimental hypersonic aircraft, the Hayabusa-X, took off from Tokyo and landed in California just 2 hours later. That's 5,400 miles covered at speeds never achieved by a manned aircraft. No warning, no buildup, just a quiet revolution in global air travel. What made this even more shocking? The jet wasn't autonomous, it was manned. While most countries are still testing drones at these speeds, Japan sent a human pilot through the upper edges of Earth's atmosphere. The aircraft hit Mach 15, riding the thin line between air and space. The landing was smooth. The pilot stepped out smiling. US military officials looked stunned. The Hayabusa-X uses a hybrid propulsion system. It combines traditional scramjets with a magnetic compression drive, technology that, until now, sounded like science fiction. By riding the thermosphere, the plane minimized drag and skipped over turbulence. It even used plasma shielding to protect against heat and reduce sonic signatures. "This is more than a jet," said a Lockheed engineer. "It's the beginning of something else." This wasn't just a Japanese test. The flight was part of a joint Indo-Pacific defense initiative with the United States. Lockheed, NASA, and the Japanese Ministry of Defense worked together quietly behind the scenes. Now that the secret is out, global powers are scrambling to respond. One US analyst summed it up best. Japan just skipped the hypersonic race and landed in the future. Most hypersonic tests are just about missiles. They're unmanned, short-range, and rarely public. But Hayabusa-X isn't a weapon. It's a machine for humans, built for speed, control, and intelligence. In the next chapter, we explore what this jet actually is, how it was built, and what makes it so much more than just fast. It's redefining aviation itself. What is Hayabusa-X? Hayabusa-X isn't just fast. It's the most advanced manned aircraft ever flown. Developed by Japan's Defense Ministry under extreme secrecy, it's the product of 10 years of design, trial, and deep tech innovation. What makes it different? It's built to be piloted, not just programmed. The jet uses a hybrid propulsion system unlike anything currently flying. At lower altitudes, it operates like a fighter jet. But as it ascends, magnetic compression drives activate, converting plasma into propulsion. This lets Hayabusa-X surf the boundary of space at Mach 15 without overheating or losing control. According to one engineer, the jet flies itself. AI manages the stress loads in real time. One breakthrough feature is real-time AI-assisted navigation. This system doesn't just map a path, it adjusts constantly based on pressure, heat, and radar readings. Paired with plasma shielding, the aircraft avoids the intense drag and heat that normally tears hypersonic jets apart. "It flies like a spacecraft but lands like a plane," said a NASA observer at the test site. The most surprising thing? It's manned. Most thought human flight at Mach 15 was decades away. But Hayabusa-X is pressurized, climate-stabilized, and outfitted with emergency disengage systems. This isn't a test bed, it's a battle-ready prototype. One US analyst called it a working spaceship with wings. Now that we know what Hayabusa-X is, the bigger question is, what can it do? The answer might reshape everything from commercial air travel to global military logistics. This isn't just a jet, it's a gateway to instant global reach. In the next chapter, we explore what happens when flying across the world takes minutes, not hours. The future of global reach. What if every capital city in the world was just 2 hours away? That's not a dream anymore. Hayabusa-X has made instant global reach a reality. Whether for defense or diplomacy, this technology puts every point on Earth within striking distance and meeting range. From a military standpoint, that changes everything. A jet like this can carry a small team, a payload, or an AI-controlled drone pod and reach a war zone before an alarm is even triggered. You don't need bases everywhere, said one defense expert. You just need one jet and 2 hours. Commercially, the implications are just as huge. Japan Airlines and ANA have already contacted the government to explore civilian licensing of the Hayabusa tech. Imagine flying from Tokyo to London in 90 minutes, or New York to Sydney in 3 hours. Business travel would collapse time zones. Tourism would explode. Airports would have to rethink their entire infrastructure. Even more disruptive is how this changes strategy. Countries with hypersonic manned aircraft won't just have military dominance. They'll own the first strike advantage. If you can deploy troops, drones, or surveillance gear anywhere in the world in under 2 hours, the meaning of distance disappears. It's not about range anymore. It's about readiness, said a retired U.S. Air Force general. So how did Japan pull this off? Right under everyone's radar. The U.S. didn't expect it. China didn't predict it. The West was looking in one direction, while Japan quietly built the future in another. In the next chapter, we break down how the world's top defense power missed the biggest leap in aviation in a generation. Why the U.S. didn't see it coming. For years, the United States was seen as the frontrunner in hypersonic aviation, especially through NASA, Lockheed Martin, and DARPA. But when Hayabusa-X touched down in California, U.S. officials weren't just impressed. They were caught off guard. Why? Because they weren't even close to a manned Mach 15 jet. One major reason is that U.S. projects focused on unmanned hypersonic missiles. The X-51, the Falcon HTV-2, and similar programs were designed to launch, strike, and burn out, never to land safely. The idea of putting a human inside something that fast was still considered too risky. Japan? They skipped the missile phase and went straight to aviation's final frontier. Another factor was Japan's secrecy. Unlike U.S. programs, which are often leaked, reported, or announced for funding purposes, the Hayabusa project was developed under intense military silence. They worked with local aerospace firms and AI labs to simulate thousands of test flights, all without building full-scale prototypes until they knew it would work. It's the stealthiest success we've seen in decades, said one DARPA advisor. Then there's the mindset. U.S. military doctrine often divides aerospace into defense categories: fighters, bombers, surveillance, drones, and Japan didn't follow that model. They built a hybrid, a manned aircraft that behaves like a drone, a recon jet, and an escape pod all at once. We built lanes, they erased the map, said one Pentagon official. The result? While the U.S. tested components, Japan delivered a full machine. And it flew, successfully, across the Pacific, with a pilot inside, and it landed safely on U.S. soil before many U.S. engineers believed the physics were even ready. But the U.S. wasn't the only one caught off guard. On the other side of the Pacific, China was watching closely, with satellites trained on the jet's path. And even with their advanced surveillance systems, Hayabusa-X vanished mid-flight. What happened next raised even more eyebrows in Beijing. Japan didn't just outrun radar, they outmaneuvered an entire region's defense grid. China's satellites lost the jet mid-flight. As Hayabusa-X crossed over the Pacific, China's space-based radar arrays picked it up early. Their satellites, ground stations, and airborne radar networks attempted to track the flight. But somewhere over the western Pacific, the jet disappeared. No signal loss, no sensor glitch, just nothing. Japan's plasma shielding and unpredictable trajectory had worked perfectly. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was a threat. China's entire regional defense model is built on early detection and long-range response. When a hypersonic manned aircraft crosses the ocean unseen, it breaks every assumption the PLA has about preemptive tracking and missile defense. One Chinese official, off the record, reportedly called it a nightmare. Part of the reason China couldn't follow Hayabusa-X is because it wasn't flying in predictable arcs. Unlike missiles or drones, it uses AI-assisted navigation to make micro-adjustments in real time, dodging heat pockets, redirecting airflow, and spoofing satellite trajectory models. Traditional radar systems couldn't even tell which direction it was going. Inside China, military media went quiet. No commentary, no coverage. But leaks suggest a top-level emergency meeting was held just 48 hours later. Analysts say Beijing sees Hayabusa-X as a direct counter to its DF-ZF hypersonic glide vehicles, which are designed for strike, not survivability. Japan just proved it can send a jet across oceans, avoid detection, and land safely. And the scariest part for China? This tech could be scaled. If Japan shares it with the US or Australia, the entire balance of power in the Indo-Pacific could shift. They didn't just fly fast, said a Taiwanese analyst. They flew through China's blind spot and proved it exists. As China scrambled to understand what went wrong, another major player in the hypersonic race sat stunned. Russia. Long considered a pioneer in high-speed weapons, Moscow suddenly realized it had been leapfrogged. In the next chapter, we look at how Japan's manned jet exposed cracks in Russia's military reputation, and why their hypersonic edge may be more fiction than fact. Russia's struggling hypersonic race. For years, Russia claimed to lead the hypersonic game. Their missiles, like the Avangard and Kinzhal, were touted as unstoppable, ultra-fast weapons that could bypass NATO defenses. But when Hayabusa-X completed a manned, controlled Mach 15 flight, the illusion cracked. Russia has speed, but not stability. Not landing, not life support. The Avangard, for example, is a glide weapon, not an aircraft. Once launched, it burns out. It cannot maneuver back, it cannot land, and it definitely can't carry a human. In contrast, Japan has built a reusable hypersonic jet that can take off, land, and be redeployed, again and again. Russia's MiG program has long flirted with hypersonic flight, but it's stuck in design phases. Funding gaps, sanctions, and a focus on missiles left manned hypersonic aviation underdeveloped. This isn't just about jets, said a European analyst. It's about being able to fly to another continent without being seen, and Russia isn't ready. The Kirov-class battlecruisers, while still a symbol of Russian naval power, are massive and exposed. A jet like Hayabusa-X could fly over it, gather data, or strike, all before the ship could react. Russia may still have muscle, but it doesn't have mobility. And in the hypersonic age, mobility wins. Russia hasn't issued a direct response. But military analysts believe they have already begun fast-tracking scramjet-based prototypes, hoping to close the gap. Still, the clock is ticking, and Japan has already landed in the future. Japan didn't just outpace the world, it outmaneuvered it. But while the skies were changing, something else was stirring at sea. Japan's hypersonic leap is backed by firepower in the ocean, too. In the next chapter, we meet the Mach-class destroyers, Japan's other secret weapon, and how they're shaping the balance of power in the Pacific. Mach-class destroyers. While Hayabusa-X takes the skies, Japan's sea power is also evolving. Meet the Mach-class destroyers, two of the most advanced warships Japan has ever built. JS Maya and JS Haguro were designed to defend Japan's skies, sea lanes, and digital battlespace all at once. And they're not just modern, they're modular, mobile, and menacing. These 10,050-ton vessels are powered by a hybrid electric propulsion system that boosts fuel efficiency and allows for quieter, stealthier movement at low speeds. The Maya class uses a cutting-edge setup with 2 gas turbines, diesel generators, electric motors, and 5-bladed controllable pitch propellers. Together, it produces enough power to cruise at 30 knots while feeding massive energy into onboard weapons. The ship's Aegis Baseline 9C combat system integrates Japan's Navy with allied forces, including the US and Australia. Using CEC, cooperative engagement capability, Maya-class ships can share real-time radar, targeting, and missile tracking data across allied navies. One ship sees it, they all see it. As one analyst said, it's not just a destroyer, it's a node in a global war machine. Then there's the firepower. Maya-class ships pack SM-3 and SM-6 missiles, anti-ship Type 90s, torpedo tubes, and the upcoming railgun and laser defense systems. That makes them capable of intercepting ballistic missiles, taking out enemy aircraft, and eventually disabling enemy vessels with directed energy. They even carry a full helicopter team for sub-hunting missions. Japan's new ships are fast, smart, and lethal, but they're not sailing alone. Their most powerful ally, the United States, brings something even more radical to the fight: the Zumwalt-class destroyers. Bigger than cruisers, quieter than submarines, and packed with future tech, these vessels are floating statements. The next chapter explores the most advanced warships ever built. The Zumwalt-class destroyers are unlike anything else on water. 3 ships, USS Zumwalt, Michael Monsor, and Lyndon B. Johnson, were built not just to dominate, but to disappear. These stealth ships are 40% larger than typical destroyers, but they appear on radar like a fishing boat. That's the future of naval warfare. Each Zumwalt packs 80 vertical launch missile cells, capable of firing Tomahawks, Sea Sparrows, and anti-submarine missiles. It also includes dual 155mm advanced gun systems, soon to be replaced by hypersonic launchers. These weapons aren't just powerful, they're precise, designed to strike at long range and hit hard before the enemy knows it's coming. Its power system is something out of a sci-fi novel. 2 Rolls-Royce MT-30 gas turbines and 2 R4500 generators combine to produce 78 megawatts of power. That's enough to run a small town, or more importantly, power the next generation of railguns, lasers, and AI-enhanced radar systems. It's a floating Tesla with missiles, one sailor joked. Despite its size and complexity, the Zumwalt has a crew of only 147. Automation runs deep through every system, from weapons loading to engine maintenance. This makes it not only cheaper to operate, but faster to deploy, harder to hack, and quicker to react. It's not just a destroyer, it's a statement. Speed, stealth, and smart warfare are the new standard. But while the US and Japan field stealth destroyers and space-age jets, China is also building, and fast. With its own massive Navy expansion, the People's Liberation Army has launched a fleet of Type 055 destroyers. In the next chapter, we compare these rising warships and show how Asia's seas are turning into a high-stakes chessboard. China's Type 055 and the new naval chessboard China isn't sitting still. With global ambitions growing and tensions rising, Beijing has launched a new fleet of Type 055 stealth-guided missile destroyers. Bigger than Arleigh Burke-class ships and nearly matching the Zumwalt in length, these 13,000-ton warships are built for one thing: power projection. The Type 055s are equipped with 112 vertical launch cells, capable of firing long-range cruise missiles, anti-aircraft weapons, and anti-submarine torpedoes. This makes them some of the most heavily armed surface ships in Asia. They're designed for multi-role missions, from carrier escort to solo missile defense and regional intimidation. What sets them apart is their advanced sensor and tracking systems, including AESA radar arrays, infrared search and track, IRST, and electronic warfare suites. Combined with their stealthy hull design and high-speed engines, these ships are built to dominate contested zones like the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. Beijing now has 5 of these ships active, with more coming fast. Unlike the Maya and Zumwalt classes, China has prioritized numbers over alliances. Its goal? Overwhelm rather than integrate. While Japan and the US build cooperative networks, China is creating an independent fleet meant to control its own narrative. A Chinese admiral once said, "The sea does not belong to those who ask, it belongs to those who act." But there's a catch. The Type 055, while advanced, still lacks true combat testing, and its systems are battle-hardened like Aegis or SM-6. If it ever faces a Maya or a Zumwalt head-to-head, it may learn that radar signatures aren't everything. Reaction time, coordination, and experience matter more. As these floating giants take their positions across the Pacific, a new question emerges. Who wins when the next war is decided by seconds, not soldiers? The answer lies in hypersonic weapons, shared sensors, and unmatched speed. In the next chapter, we break down how Japan's flight and the West's response just triggered a new arms race. A hypersonic arms race is now unavoidable. The launch of Hayabusa-X didn't just break speed records, it broke the rules of global defense planning. In just 2 hours, Japan moved from being a cautious regional power to a serious contender in next-generation military technology. The result? A hypersonic arms race that is no longer theoretical. It's happening right now. Since the test flight, the U.S. has fast-tracked manned hypersonic flight programs that had been buried in research labs. Lockheed Martin and DARPA are now revising designs with Hayabusa-X data. Meanwhile, China has expanded funding for its spaceplane prototypes, hoping to counter Japan's upper atmosphere edge. Even India has entered the field with new scramjet demonstrations. The challenge? Hypersonic speeds change how warfare works. At Mach 15, missiles, jets, and even drones become impossible to track with traditional radar. Defense becomes less about armor and more about reaction speed and data coordination. A country's ability to respond in real time may now define its survival. As one NATO strategist said, it's not airspace anymore, it's milliseconds. Nations are also investing in counter-hypersonic tech, satellite-based tracking, AI-powered prediction systems, and quantum radar. But none of these are proven. Right now, speed wins, and Japan has proven it's not just fast, it's prepared. The race has begun. There's no going back. But speed doesn't exist in a vacuum. The skies are fast, but the ground is still tense. In the next chapter, we step into the Indo-Pacific, a region already under threat. From Chinese missile drills to North Korean nuclear warnings, Japan's leap in hypersonic aviation isn't just a milestone. It's a message. And the world heard it loud and clear. The Indo-Pacific flashpoint tensions in the Indo-Pacific were already razor thin. Then came the missiles. In response to U.S. visits to the region, China fired ballistic missiles into Japan's exclusive economic zone, a clear warning. But Japan didn't flinch. Days later, it responded not with the threats, but with technology. Hayabusa-X was their answer, speed over sabers. Just a few borders away, North Korea issued direct nuclear threats, stating that any nation not aligned with Pyongyang could be struck at the discretion of our leaders. Japan naturally was on that list. As one Japanese official said, "We are not preparing for war. We are preparing to prevent one." To that end, Japan began upgrading its entire defensive footprint. Maya-class destroyers at sea, Hayabusa-X in the sky, and a new joint radar sharing system with the U.S. and Australia. Meanwhile, American Zumwalt-class destroyers quietly repositioned to Pacific waters. Their stealth and power added a clear message. Japan is not alone. But this isn't just a military buildup. It's a power shift. The Pacific is no longer just a U.S.-China standoff. It's a multi-node chessboard where Japan, Australia, and South Korea to all have roles, and where even one misstep could spark something global. The fuse is short, said a South Korean defense analyst, and everyone's holding matches. But it's not just defense leaders watching Japan's moves. The entire aviation world is looking too, because the same jet that just changed warfare might also change travel forever. In the next chapter, we shift from missiles to markets and show how Hayabusa-X could become the next Concorde, only 10 times faster. Beyond Defense, Japan's Ministry of Defense didn't build Hayabusa-X for passengers. But now, that's exactly what's on the table. Commercial giants like Japan Airlines, ANA, and even Boeing have begun talks about licensing Hayabusa-X's technology for future airliners. The goal? Cut global flight times down to under 3 hours, anywhere. The possibilities are staggering. Tokyo to London in 90 minutes. New York to Sydney in 3 hours. Business travel redefined. Global trade reshaped. A family in Paris could have dinner in Bangkok and be home by bedtime. A senior ANA engineer said, "This isn't evolution, it's teleportation by jet." The early plans involve 2-seat and 10-seat aircraft, focusing on business-class routes first. These planes would fly at the edge of the atmosphere, using AI-assisted route prediction and plasma shielding, just like the military model. Over time, designs could scale, just like early airliners evolved from fighter tech. But there are challenges. Civilian hypersonic jets would need entirely new airport infrastructure, noise regulations, and international treaties on upper atmosphere flight. Still, the race is on. The US, France, and even Saudi Arabia are now investing in civilian hypersonic programs. Why? Because the country that wins this race doesn't just own the skies, it owns time itself. One flight, one jet, one landing in California, and the world shifted. What began as a military test has become a technological turning point. In our final chapter, we pull back and ask, what does this really mean? Because with a hypersonic speed, the world isn't just smaller. It's on a clock that only a few can keep up with. Hayabusa-X isn't just an aircraft, it's a message that the rules of speed, distance, and dominance have all changed. The nations that move fastest will shape the future, not just in war, but in commerce, diplomacy, and survival. Japan has fired the starting shot in a race that no longer happens on the ground. The skies are shrinking, the world is smaller, and the next battle, for control, for peace, for presence, will be won by those who arrive first. What was once impossible is now just a 2-hour flight away. In the future, it's already in the air.